Euaoi.
In response to a video I made a couple of months ago, I mentioned that I was skeptical about how the King of the Hill reboot would turn out. In that video, my main concerns were that the crew were just going to be playing catch-up with the times and just have a bunch of the episode's plots be topical, a trend that ends up plaguing a lot of modern TV reboots. What I mean by topical episode plots is like having an episode where someone gets Me Too'd, an episode about a certain brand being boycotted due to them going woke, you know, socio-political events that happened recently. And before I continue, yes, I know that King of the Hill is a pretty topical show, but I was worried that they're going to be doing it just for the sake of doing it, rather than doing it in a way that feels more natural, if that makes any sense. With my concern from that stemming how the promotional artwork is just a bunch of references to modern technology, with Hank having a very concerned look on his face. That and the tragic news regarding the deaths of some of the voice actors since the show ended, like the voice actors for Luann, Lucky, and Principal Moss. Or more recently, the voice actors for Dale and John Redcorn. Hell, even Chuck Mangione recently passed. Don't get me wrong, King of the Hill is a great show, but is this show cursed or something? Going back on topic, since that video, I've gotten a lot of criticism regarding my takes on the news regarding the reboot when it first dropped. I decided to make a follow-up video to that not because of the criticism, but also because it was one of my most popular videos in terms of viewer count in a while. Since that video got over 2,000 views, whereas most of my videos since the turn of 2025 can't even break 1,000. Is my channel dying, or is that normal? As for the original video itself, it's currently unlisted and I left a link to it in the comments below, just as a reference for what the original video was like. Enough doom posting about my channel's stagnant growth, let's now talk about the new season since it dropped last week. As for my opinion on it, and if the title didn't make it obvious enough, this season proved I really had nothing to worry about regarding the quality of the reboot. This is, in my honest opinion, the peak reboot. I'm quickly going to go over what I liked about this reboot and not turn it into some 30-minute thesis because something like that would just feel unnecessary for a video like this. Starting off with how they set the stage for the reboot to happen with a time skip involving Hank and Peggy moving back to Texas to retire after Hank was working as a propane salesman abroad in Saudi Arabia. I honestly think this was a smart move by the King of the Hill crew because having the time skip not only gives the writers new ideas for episode plots rather than just having to resort to generic topical plots, but also gives Hank and Peggy a valid reason for feeling out of place with the changing times. Another aspect that I liked about this reboot is that while the show does incorporate modern technology, it does it in a way that feels natural. And by natural, I mean the writers just sprinkle it into the episode's stories, rather than just shoving it into your face, a la Rocko's Modern Life, Static Cling. An example I can think of is that Hank is trying to figure out how to properly occupy his time during his retirement years, and gets an idea when he sees Boomhauer using an app called Chore Chimp, which is the universe's equivalent of TaskRabbit. And that's one thing I love about Hank's portrayal in the reboot. While he's typically an old-fashioned guy, he still keeps an open mind and is willing to try out new things, and isn't just straight up, technology bad. Or how Cotton Hill's son, Good Hank, falls victim to a scam training program run by a fake alpha male Andrew Tate-esque influencer, and we see some good character development from teenage Good Hank because of it. And speaking of the characters, they're still the same characters you all know and love. Going more on Hank's character, another recent example of his open-mindedness was when he developed an interest in soccer during his time in Saudi Arabia. As for the other characters, Peggy is still her same egocentric self, with an example being how she misinterprets a sentence in Spanish, where Hank tells her the subtitles say something else, which leads to her saying how the subtitles are wrong. Or how Peggy was initially going to tell Bill to end his lie by saying the two are married, only for her to play along with Bill's delusions because she wanted the others to believe her life is a lot more interesting than what it really is. Dale is still his same crazy conspiracy-fueled self, such as when he won an 11-way mayoral race with only a really small plurality of the vote and resigned immediately after since he believed that any election system would get him elected is a flawed system. Or how he assumed Hank was a brainwashed spy from the Saudi government due to him finding out about his newly found fascination with soccer. And don't forget the nonsense he was spewing when he was visiting the George W. Bush Museum with Hank and the others. And because of the time skip, we also get to see a lot of the characters who were kids in the original run, now grown up as adults. where we now get to see them navigate adult life. Such as Bobby, who, in my opinion, had quite the glow-up in the reboot. In fact, I actually like his character more in the reboot than I did in the original show. Mainly because we get to see a more mature, responsible side of him, since he's now running a fusion restaurant in Dallas, while still keeping the same core aspects of his character from his youth, such as his vulnerability when navigating his love life and tending to overthink things sometimes, as well as his insecurity with trying to win his dad's approval, such as when Hank found out that Bobby was using charcoal to grill his food rather than propane. While Hank and Peggy were in Saudi Arabia, Bobby has been living in an apartment with his longtime friend, Joseph Gribble, as his roommate. And I love how they made Joseph a lot more like Dale in his adult years, such as him spying on one of the beer judges in hopes on getting the dirt on them, or instantly hiding in a trash bag as soon as he's been spotted. It appears that Dale taught him a little too well. Another character who had quite the transformation in their adult years was Connie, where it's been revealed that she's in an open relationship with Chain Wasana-song until Chain dumped her when he found out that her parents were divorced, but I'll get to that later. And speaking of Chain, he plays a much bigger role here than he did in the original series, with that bigger role in particular being that he owns the restaurant that Bobby works at, but is rarely at the restaurant and dumps all of his responsibilities onto Bobby while taking credit for a lot of his work. Kind of like how Buck Strickland treated Hank. And I found it really nice that the creators were able to do more with a character who had a rather extremely niche role in the original series. Now going back to the topic of divorce, one other change that happened between the end of the original series and the reboot is that Khan and Min are now divorced. But Khan is still his same show-offy, social status obsessed self, such as when they threw a fake 30th anniversary celebration just to impress Ted Wasana-song. The only thing about Khan that really changed was his voice, due to a new rule enacted by Fox that white voice actors will no longer voice non-white characters. And my god, the new voice actor for Khan sounds nothing like Toby Huss's portrayal of the character. Well, at least the episode that revealed their divorce was his only appearance in that season, while Min has had multiple appearances. Speaking of Toby Huss, he became the new voice actor for Dale once Johnny Hardwick tragically passed away. And I've heard a lot of people saying that Huss's Dale impression feels a little off, but I really didn't have an issue with it, unlike Khan's new voice. As for the other voice actors who have passed away, Jonathan Joss, who was John Redcorn's voice actor, had all of his lines recorded for the season, but it's unknown if he'll be recast or if they'll retire his character. As for Luann Lucky and Principal Moss, none of them had any physical appearances in that season, with Luann and Lucky's only appearance being in the form of a background picture frame, meaning it's a safe bet the creators retired those characters and they most likely moved away. As for my favorite episode of the new season, it's a toss-up between New Ref in Town and Any Given Hill Day. I like New Ref in Town because of how we got to see Hank's character changing during his time in Saudi Arabia, and I also like seeing Dale's wacky shenanigans in trying to prove his theory that Hank has been brainwashed by the Saudi government. Meanwhile, Any Given Hill Day was great because it feels like a tragedy told in 3 acts regarding Hank's relationship with Bobby's then-girlfriend, Willow, with Hank initially not being very fond of Willow due to her being vegan and having an unorthodox taste in fashion, where he then likes her after seeing her carry their team in flag football, only for it to come to an end when he walks on her pooping on Jerry Jones's desk. Also, the B-plot of Peggy opening a lending library to bring the community together, only for it to backfire after discovering the books are laced with bedbugs, was pretty funny too. As for my least favorite episode of the season, it would unironically be the premiere episode, Return of the King. While not a bad episode, in fact, I like the concept of Hank and Peggy feeling like they made a mistake moving back to Texas. But I just hate how abruptly the conflict was resolved. Almost like this was originally planned to be a 2-parter, didn't have enough material for a second part, so they just haphazardly slapped the message that some change is good in the form of a Girl Scout cookie name change as a half-baked resolution. Overall, if you loved the original series, then you're absolutely gonna love this. It's one of the few reboots that still manages to keep the same level of charm as the original series. Anyways, that's all I have for today, and I'll see you next time.